Excerpt from Paramatthajotikā, or Illustrator of the Ultimate Meaning, by Buddhaghosa. The Buddha is like the full moon, the Dharma taught by him is like the shedding of the moon's effulgence, and the Sangha is like the world inspired with happiness by the effulgence of the full moon. The Buddha is like the rising sun, the Dharma, as already stated, is like the web of his rays, and the Sangha is like the world rid of him by darkness. The Buddha is like a man who burns a jungle, the Dharma, which burns up the jungle of defilements, is like the fire which burns the jungle, and the Sangha, which has become a field of merit since its defilements have been burnt up, is like the piece of ground which has become a field for sowing since its jungle has been burnt up. The Buddha is like the great rain cloud, the Dharma is like a downpour of rain, and the Sangha, in which the dust of defilement has been laid, is like the countryside in which the dust has been laid by the fall of rain. The Buddha is like a good trainer of thoroughbreds, the true Dharma is like the means for the disciplining of thoroughbred horses, and the Sangha is like a mass of well-disciplined thoroughbreds. The Buddha is like a dart extractor because he removes all darts of wrong views. The Dharma is like the means of removing the darts, and the Sangha, from whom the darts of wrong views have been removed, is like people from whom darts have been removed. Or else the Buddha is like a lancet user because he dissects away the cataract of delusion. The Dharma is like the means for dissecting the cataract away, and the Sangha, whose eye of knowledge is cleared by the dissecting away of the cataract of delusion, is like people whose eyes are cleared with the dissecting away of the cataract. Or else the Buddha is like a clever physician, because he is able to cure the sickness consisting in defilement by underlying tendencies. The Dharma is like a rightly applied medicine, and the Sangha, whose underlying tendencies to the sickness of defilement are quite cured, is like people whose sickness is quite cured by the application of the medicine. Or else the Buddha is like a good guide, the Dharma is like a good path to a land of safety, and the Sangha is like people who enter upon the path and reach the land of safety. The Buddha is like a good pilot, the Dharma is like a ship, and the Sangha is like people who have succeeded in reaching the farther shore. The Buddha is like the Himalaya mountain, the Dharma is like the healing herbs that are given their being by that mountain, and the Sangha is like people free from ailment owing to the use of the healing herbs. The Buddha is like a bestower of riches, the Dharma is like the riches, and the Sangha, which has rightly obtained the noble one's riches, is like people who have obtained riches in the way hoped for. The Buddha is like one who shows a hidden treasure store, the Dharma is like the hidden treasure store, and the Sangha is like people who have found the hidden treasure store. Furthermore, the Buddha is like a steadfast man who gives protection from fear, the Dharma is the protection from fear, and the Sangha, which has found complete protection from fear, is like people who have found protection from fear. The Buddha is like a counselor, the Dharma like a consolation, and the Sangha is like people consoled. The Buddha is like a good friend, the Dharma is like helpful advice, and the Sangha is like people who have reached all their aims through following the helpful advice. The Buddha is like a mine of riches, the Dharma is like the vein of riches, and the Sangha is like people who exploit the vein of riches. The Buddha is like one who bathes a prince, the Dharma is like the water for washing the head, and the Sangha, which has been well bathed in the water of the true Dharma, is like a company of well-bathed princes. The Buddha is like the maker of an ornament, the Dharma is like the ornament, and the Sangha, which is adorned with the true Dharma, is like a party of king's sons wearing ornaments. The Buddha is like a sandalwood tree, the Dharma is like the scent given by its being by that tree, and the Sangha, whose fever has been quelled by the true Dharma, is like people whose fever has been quelled by the use of sandalwood. The Buddha is like the bestower of inheritance, the true Dharma is like the inheritance, and the Sangha, which is heir to the heritage consisting of the true Dharma, is like a company of children who are heirs to the inheritance. The Buddha is like an opened lotus flower, the Dharma is like the honey being given its being by that flower, and the Sangha is like a swarm of bees making use of that honey.